So for the Supreme Court to weigh in at 1 a.m. on a Saturday, on a holiday weekend, no less, tells you that the Supreme Court does not have faith that the government of the United States of America will follow through on the orders that it receives from the Supreme Court. That is a dire and telling circumstance. So what was clearly transpiring last night, up until the ACLU filed this lawsuit in the middle of the night, was that preparations were being made to outright defy the will of the Supreme Court and to deport these individuals without any process whatsoever. That is troubling. When it comes to providing a small modicum of information to the judicial branch to determine what, so that the judicial branch can determine the legality or illegality of what the government is doing, they're turning around and saying, we can't provide that to you, or we refuse to provide that to you on grounds of state secrets. A state secret is what Pete Hegseth and the other members of the defense community were discussing on the Houthi group chat. That's a state secret. This is a flight departure and arrival time. So to turn around and say that information is not secret for purposes of propaganda, but is so secret that you can't tell it to a federal judge, even in camera, even just on a private basis before the judge and the judge alone, is the kind of credibility gap that we are not accustomed to seeing in the executive branch. What the government is engaged in now, even if you agree with the policy, as some in America clearly do, is unreasonable from the standpoint of not providing anything resembling an adequate window of time for individuals to challenge whether or not they are appropriately or inappropriately being categorized as eligible for this rendition to a foreign country and one of the most notorious, brutal prisons in the entire world. Even if one is purely self-interested and cares not at all about other human beings, there is nothing, even if you are a citizen, even if you are a law-abiding citizen, to prevent the government from rounding you up, whisking you away to a foreign country without any process. And if you say, well, that would never happen because I would show them I'm a citizen, the answer to that response is simple. The only way that your opportunity to argue that would ever be meaningful would be if there were due process, which is to say, if you take due process away from one, there is nothing to prevent that deprivation of due process from being applied to anyone else, citizen or non-citizen. Due process is the thing. It is the single characteristic of a civilized society that is non-negotiable.